John Hartfield is a major influence and somebody that you draw some sort of substance from. When did you first get introduced to his work?
I think that's Dave Walter introduced us to John Hartfield.
Was there an immediate connection for you?
Yeah. I guess because it's so bold, kind of hits you over the head.
Was some of that work more political? Like, were you kind of in that same vein? Because, like, I think maybe the politics of some of this is more buried, like it's more subterranean.
Yeah, I think it was more back then. It's gone away somewhat.
Somewhat? Well, you do have, like, there is that piece about the Obama, I guess we're going to get a workout here because we won't kind of do this in a linear fashion because that wouldn't make sense. So we're going to... We're going to bounce to that other room, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, because there is sort of a political thing there, I guess. Again, we see this idea of collage, this idea of the montage, and it's interesting that Jason describes himself also kind of like as a director, because so much of film, like maybe these in a way are like paper movies that are for a kind of cinema that hasn't been made yet. And I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about like the Obama connection on this, and you know, like I don't know if you were joking when we were talking about it or if it was something really serious.
Okay, there's a place in Alaska that's a secret military base where they have an antenna array that's, you know, football field size, and it's supposed to communicate with subs around the world. And there's a lot of conspiracy theories about this place that it actually controls the weather, and that they may have created Katrina and stuff like that. So I had this idea that it doesn't matter what's true or not, that maybe because Obama's in office, he would let me borrow that place to do something that I want to do, which is, I was thinking that I could use it to record data on the magnetosphere around the Earth. Like I could just send up songs and record them in the sky. So that was my totally unscientific idea. And this is like a pictogram proposal for that.
You should send it. You never know. Did these kind of have the same kind of gestation period where like they sat around for a while and then eventually found themselves kind of wormed their way into your work?
Yeah. Yeah, some of these images have been around for a while.
On the flip side, is there anything here that like, as you were working on these, you stumbled across it and it just like clicked? It was automatic and it was like, oh, I know where this needs to go. It's almost like a missing puzzle piece that might have been glaring unless you had stumbled across that one image.
Well, I printed these three first, and they sat around for a couple of months at least. Like minus this image, it was just her. So I didn't know at first that that was going to be Sarah Palin. I didn't know what was going to be what. And it came together at some point. I don't really know.
Well, there's this definite thing about like, are these, like what kind of paper is this?
It's an old ledger from a Chula Vista auto place. I don't know.
Okay. So you obviously are hitting swap meets and eBay, and when you go to these places, whether it's online or in the real world, do you know what you're looking for? Or is it almost like that you're just sort of like window shopping?
It's a bit of both. I know specifically I'm looking for negatives and certain magazines and certain types of paper that I can print on, like this paper. But then I just find other stuff too. Like I just found this military intelligence photograph in some box that was haunting.
And if people have questions, or you know, it doesn't have to be like this.
So there's printmaking and collage in these pieces. In fact, Paul work a lot.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting to have you talk about the process of hand doing these technologies versus computerized technologies.
That's the first question. Well, yeah, these are all liquid photographic emulsions. Like the brown is a liquid emulsion you brush on the paper and then contact print with a negative in UV light. So you have to make your negative the same size as your print. So those big ones, I'm making negatives on the floor in my garage this big.
And how do you do that? Put a light source up there and
I have a giant enlarger.
a giant enlarger with a lens and all. Wow.
Is that urban legend, giant enlarger?
You can look it up in the National Enquirer. It's like Bigfoot photos, you know, always out of focus. But you know, something that brings up a really interesting point is that we live in this high-tech age where computers are oftentimes seen as the quick fix to things. And being, you know, and teaching photography myself, this is something that often comes up as kind of a debate because it's this easy seduction with Photoshop. And one of the things that draws me to Jason's work is that handmade quality, the fact that he has an enlarger. He had to build a dark room. He had to go through all this effort. He can only use the dark room during certain times, well, in the evening, basically, because it's not light tight. And there's something to be said about that tactile quality that is put into the work and that extra effort. Because I don't know if this aesthetic would translate necessarily if he was doing this on a laptop somewhere. It seems to be this is much more about like the labor is part of this.
Yeah, and the accidents too.
And the accidents. Is there any of the accidents that pop up here?
Well, like this image, these two, the brown and the blue, the chemistry cancels each other out. So if I was just to print brown over this, the image would disappear. So I have to print this brown print, which is a silver emulsion, and then I put wax on it so this chemistry won't invade that chemistry. So there's always going to be an accident because wax and paper and chemistry. So it just has a strange edge because the wax leaks.